the thing that kills you is sitting in your house right now? Something so ordinary you've touched it 1,000 times without even thinking twice. This isn't a horror movie. This is real life. And these 5 people didn't die because of wild stunts, bad choices, or crime. They were killed by everyday household objects. Stuff you probably have in your home, stuff you might even be touching while watching this video. And here's the terrifying part. Every single one of them thought they were safe until they weren't. From a child lost in the middle of an ordinary afternoon to a man crushed beneath his own equipment during a normal workday, here are 5 real unnerving stories of people killed by ordinary household objects. In February 2014, Curran Collis, a 2-year-old boy from Westchester, Pennsylvania, was playing alone in his bedroom. When his mother walked in, she found him pinned beneath an IKEA Malm dresser. It had tipped forward silently during the night, crushing him against the floor. He was gone. There were no cries for help, no loud crashes, just a heavy piece of furniture, and a child who never stood a chance. The dresser hadn't been anchored to the wall, and tragically, it wasn't the first time. Curran was one of multiple children killed by toppling IKEA dressers, most from the same Malm line, prompting a recall of over 29 million units across North America. Investigators found that when even a single drawer is pulled too far, the weight distribution shifts just enough to make the entire structure collapse, and for a toddler, the impact can be instantly fatal. The case became a national wake-up call. IKEA settled with Curran's family and others for $50 million and began urging customers to use wall anchoring kits. But for Curran, that warning came too late. Curran's death was a tragedy rooted in silence and weight. But the next story comes from something weightless, a single spark. A jolt of electricity so small you wouldn't even see it coming, until it's already taken a life. In July 2013, Ma Ailun, a 23-year-old flight attendant from China, was getting ready to head out. She picked up her iPhone to answer a call, something she'd done hundreds of times before. But this time, something went horribly wrong. The moment she touched the phone, a surge of electricity coursed through her body. She collapsed instantly. By the time emergency services arrived, she had no pulse. Doctors later confirmed the cause: electrocution from a third-party iPhone charger. The charger looked like a standard Apple accessory, but it wasn't. It was an unlicensed counterfeit model with no proper voltage regulation. And while it functioned normally on the surface, its cheap internal components created a deadly risk the moment Ma plugged it in. Her death sent shockwaves through China and sparked a global conversation about counterfeit electronics. Apple responded by launching an investigation and releasing a safety notice, urging users to avoid unauthorized chargers. Ma's case was tragic, but not unique. Over the years, similar incidents have been reported: burns, fires, and fatal shocks, often linked to off-brand cables and plugs that bypass safety standards. We treat chargers like afterthoughts, something cheap, easy, and replaceable. But Ma's death proved just how dangerous a few cents saved can be. Ma's death was sudden, invisible, delivered through a cable no one thought twice about. But the next tragedy is even quieter. No sparks, no warnings, just a soft object meant for comfort that took 2 lives without making a sound. In 2014, 2 children, one a 3-year-old girl from Kentucky, the other a 13-year-old boy from Texas, died in separate incidents involving the same object: a beanbag chair. Not a fire, not a fall, just something soft, familiar, and silent. Both children had crawled inside the chairs through easily opened zippers. Once inside, they became trapped. The foam beads inside shifted, cutting off their air supply. With no way to escape and no airflow to breathe, they suffocated. There were no screams, no signs of struggle, just silence. The chairs made by Ace by You were later found to lack crucial safety features. The zippers weren't supposed to open, and once inside, there was no ventilation to keep the child alive. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a nationwide recall of 2.2 million units after confirming the risk. These chairs were in bedrooms, playrooms, and schools. No one thought twice about them. But 2 families lost their children because of a defect no one expected to matter. The chairs didn't malfunction, they simply weren't designed with the worst-case scenario in mind. That's what makes this story so hard to forget. They weren't climbing furniture or playing with matches. They were just being kids, and in 2 different homes, on 2 different days, that was enough to cost them their lives. The beanbag chair killed by design, but the next death wasn't silent. It didn't creep in slowly. It happened in an instant, because of a single decision and an object that should have never been where it was. In November 2004, Philip Quinn, a 24-year-old man from Kent, Washington, was alone in his trailer home. He decided to heat a lava lamp on his kitchen stove, a decision that would prove fatal. The lamp exploded, sending a shard of glass into his chest, piercing his heart. He managed to stumble into his bedroom but succumbed to his injuries shortly thereafter. Authorities found no evidence of drug or alcohol use, and the death was ruled a tragic accident. This incident serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of misusing household items. Lava lamps are designed to operate with the heat from their internal light bulb. Placing them on external heat sources like stoves can cause the contents to overheat and the lamp to explode. He didn't tamper with complex machinery, he didn't engage in risky behavior. He simply placed a decorative lamp on a stove and paid the price with his life. Philip's death was sudden and violent, but what happens when death doesn't announce itself at all? In September 2006, Kathy Wongler, a 48-year-old woman from Lima, Ohio, went to sleep in her own home, completely unaware that the air she was breathing would be her last. The next morning, she was found dead in her bedroom. At first, it looked like a tragic accident. Her husband, Mark Wengler, told investigators that a faulty water heater must have leaked carbon monoxide into the house. But something didn't add up. The carbon monoxide levels were abnormally high, but isolated mostly to the bedroom. And Mark? Well, he was unharmed. Investigators discovered that Mark, a trained anesthesiologist, had in-depth knowledge of gas mechanics. Eventually, they concluded the carbon monoxide leak wasn't accidental. It was intentional. Mark had used his medical knowledge to murder his wife without leaving a trace of physical trauma. It took years of forensic analysis and legal battles, but in 2011, Mark Wengler was convicted of murder. Kathy's case became a chilling reminder of two terrifying truths. Carbon monoxide is silent, invisible, and deadly. And even household systems you trust, like your water heater, can be used as a weapon. In March 2025, Jorge Gonzalez, a 55-year-old landscaper, arrived at Northwest Vista College in San Antonio, Texas, for what should have been another routine day on the job. But this time, something went horribly wrong. While operating a commercial riding lawnmower near the edge of a drainage ditch, the mower suddenly tipped over the ledge. Jorge was thrown into the ditch, and the heavy mower landed directly on top of him. He was crushed beneath the weight of the machine. Emergency services responded quickly, but the injuries were too severe. Jorge was pronounced dead at the scene. There were no mechanical failures, no foul play. Just a moment of misjudgment near unstable ground, and a machine weighing hundreds of pounds. His death sent shockwaves through the local community, especially among fellow groundskeepers and landscaping crews who knew the risks, but rarely saw them end like this. The tragedy was a brutal reminder. Even the most familiar tools can become deadly if they're used on unstable terrain or in high-risk environments. Jorge wasn't careless. He wasn't doing anything reckless. He was just doing his job. But one turn in the wrong place, just one, and there was no second chance. None of these people expected the end to come like that. Not with a dresser, not with a charger, not while reaching for a remote. But that's the point. Real danger doesn't always look dangerous. So, secure the furniture, toss the cheap charger, and don't ignore the small risks. Because in the end, it's the small things we overlook that hurt the most. Thanks for watching.